Welcome, my friend, to the Be the Frequency podcast, where we talk all things business, healing, manifestation, and following your dharma or your soul's purpose. My name is Shalane Carter, and I'm the entrepreneur's healer. I'm here blending spirituality and success because you can have both. I help women all over the world heal their subconscious beliefs that are keeping them from making these big moves in their life that lead to more impact and income. If you're looking for a place where you can be inspired and laugh, feel seen and heard, and where you'll discover more about yourself and how to be the best version of you while making money at doing what you love, then this is the podcast for you. Are you ready? Let's do this. Here we are back again for another episode of Be the Frequency, where we're really kind of talking about how do we actually become the frequency of what we're trying to attract? How even the conversations that I have with people and guests that I have on is really kind of the premise for everything is when you are living the frequency, what does that feel like? How do you actually become the frequency? I found it really interesting the past couple of weeks in some of the one-on-one sessions that I had and some of these group experiences, a lot of conversations around what's possible for you have been coming up, of whether it be feeling like a market is saturated, that you aren't enough of an authority, that you are underqualified, that you are unsure, that they seem to have it all together, or that it must come easier for them, or it's so fascinating. One of my favorite things about seeing behind the scenes of a lot of people's business, whether that be I'm working with them in their business, and we're kind of unpacking things and trying to restructure things so we can scale them, or I'm in containers with other women that are building businesses and things like that. So whether I'm in the program or I'm guiding people through a program, it's really fascinating. I'm going to tell you something. Nobody has their shit together like you think they do. You think that they've got all these streamlined processes, that their systems are all in place and down packed and things like that. And a lot of people do, but there's a lot of messy action that kind of comes with getting what you want. And it's kind of this intuitive nudge and movement. So we're going to talk a lot about that today of how do you put into place healing practices and tools that set you up for a success so it can be you, because you deserve to have what you want. So before we go any further though, if you love listening to this podcast, please make sure you write a review. In fact, I want to share a little announcement before we get started. Beginning April 1st, I am running a giveaway. So the way that this giveaway works is that from April 1st through the 15th, I am doing this giveaway where writing a review gets you 10 entries, tagging somebody on one of the posts gets you 1 entry, and then sharing it to your story gets you 5 entries. You have to tag me. Otherwise, I don't know that you shared it to your story. So really good job. And I'm so grateful for that, but it's not helpful for this giveaway. In this giveaway, I'm going to be sending you a copy of my Ascension Manual. It's my 90 days to a higher vibrational living. And it has all sorts of things to take care of all 5 of your bodies, journal prompts, free write section, gratitude. It's all of the best journal stuff and tracking systems in one. So it's really, really awesome. I can't wait for you to get your hands on that. Again, anybody who knows me knows I love coffee. I love going to get coffee. I love coffee shop. You're going to get a gift card for Starbucks or Dunkin Donuts, and then also 2 spiritual items that are picked especially for you. And we're going to pick several winners. So there's going to be a huge, huge, huge announcement on the 15th, April 15th. So you're going to want to make sure that you hop on over onto Instagram right now. Make sure you're following me at Shalane Carter. It'll be in the show notes. And then also that you're subscribed to this podcast on whatever platform you listen to. And that way you are notified every time a new episode drops, but also you can go through and find some of your favorite episodes. So over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite episodes, some that have really great insights or really great guests. And don't forget that every single time that you tag somebody that you think would enjoy that episode or somebody that would be interested in the giveaway, you get a point. And every time you share it to your stories and tag me, you get 5 points, and every review you write, you get 10 points. That will be announced on April 15th. Don't forget to hop on over to Instagram, follow, and then subscribe to the podcast. So then let's just dive into the episode. I kind of alluded to it. I feel like I always try and give like little clues or hints on the podcast because then it's really fun. I see you guys in the DMs like hop over and be like, "Hey, I want to know like can you spill the tea? Like, what were you talking about in this episode?" So it's really fun. Like, feels like a little bit of like a Taylor Swift move of like how she like Easter egg drops things. It's also just really, really fun to be able to hear you guys listening to it and catch some of those fun little things that I drop. So I'm glad I can finally share it with you. Part of the reason that this kind of makes sense right now is that I feel like a lot of times when we hit like springtime, we start to kind of reassess our life and we have this like newfound energy, whether it be celebrate the spring equinox or when you're doing this and you're like implementing all of these things, usually what initially comes up is some type of resistance around it, around like why you can't, right? You're initially really motivated and it's like, I always kind of think of it like when you're like, I'm going to organize my closet and you end up like sitting there with like 9 things on from like 20 years ago that you didn't know you still had. And you're like, I look ridiculous, but I'm finding all these treasures. And then you kind of get sidetracked and your closet never gets cleaned. This is usually why we kind of think it can't be us, because we start something and we think that it's going to go smooth because what we see from other people is this smooth experience. And we all know this, that people only share online like what they want to share. And usually it's a highlight reel and all that jazz. I feel like when you're really having an emotion, it often doesn't happen when you're filming. And I think there's been once or twice where I was actually filming for something else and it kind of like came over me like as I was either talking about something. Like that's really normal for me to like talk about it and get like really like passionate and like teary-eyed. In my program that we just started called Master Manifester, one of the last modules, I like got so teary-eyed and so like choked up, but it was really just because I'm like so passionate about that work because it has helped me transform my life in such a way and helped so many of my clients when we've implemented some of these practices that it has been truly like restorative for them, restorative for their spirit. Like their nervous system is finally able to regulate all sorts of things. So, I just kind of got a little emotion. It's all created and crafted for what you want to see, even when you're being really authentic. And that's just part of it. Unless you're really living that experience with somebody, the experience is always going to be a bit crafted. And even if people are retelling stories, they're telling it from their perspective. We always tell stories from our perspective and our point of view, and we only share what we want to share. Even if that's honest and authentic, it sometimes is not what other people feel is honest and authentic. When I first moved into teaching a lot more on healing work, I had finished my personal training certification, finished my yoga teacher certification. I was kind of doing a little bit of combo of like called the program. It was called Spiritual Gains, which I still kind of like, but it was like strength training and yoga and like that type of work. I was so concerned with not sharing. You see people that are, personal trainers and stuff like that. And I realized I'm like, I can't take advice or quote unquote look up to people who don't have similar life experiences of me, because I'm not going to relate to them in the same way. And that was one of the ways that I again was doing healing work without doing healing work, is that I realized I needed what I call benchmarks of people that I wanted what they had in their life that I could also relate to. So 26 years old, starting my own business and being a single mother of 2 children, I don't relate to the 19-year-old fitness competitor who has no kids, has all day long to work out and like working out is their job. I don't relate to that. And I was recognizing that a lot of what I was being shown and trying to model was not realistic for me. We do that a lot. We see people who have what we want, but a lot of their experiences aren't relatable to us. So already we're setting ourselves up to fail, because you're trying to emulate something that you can't relate to. Their truth already does not resonate with you. One of the healing practices that I think you should implement, so say you want to start a business. I am following women that are 25, 26, 27 and have made millions on YouTube or are doing UGC or are doing digital marketing, and they're saying they're becoming a millionaire, but they have no kids. They don't have a husband. They aren't the sole provider. Maybe it requires 2 incomes. And so you're like, I can't step away from this income and this job right now. And so they're giving me these tips and tricks. And even though those things are really helpful, I don't relate to them as true for me because I don't see myself in them. Start to find people who look like you. I'm not talking physically. What they share is that they've lived similar experiences. You can see yourself in them. You can relate to them. The people who relate to me are women who are mothers, who are building businesses. My marketing is not me in a bikini at like a nightclub. Like, these are my weekends. You know what my weekends are? I'm traveling for volleyball tournaments. I'm sitting at the baseball field for my son. We are going to the park. We are going to a family dinner. We're making homemade pizzas tonight. I'm not going out to a bougie restaurant. I also have no desire for that. I recognize that's not important to me. So I really try to share what is important to me. I'm doing things like reducing my one-time plastic use I used to use an obscene amount of plastic baggies when the kids were little and paper plates because, again, single mom, dishes and packing lunches and things like that. I was like, I need to make this easier for myself. And it's something that I was like, I don't feel good about this. I got to a point where I was like, I don't feel good about this anymore. I share about how I'm like, okay, I now wash my hair with bar shampoo and conditioner. We don't buy plastic. We can have literally a box of plastic baggies, like a Ziploc, a small one, for over a year. We use glass containers. We are, like, those things are important to me. You know what else is important to me? Doing investing, which is really not that cool. Like, that's not something that, or saving for cars for my kids and for our future and kind of doing, that's what I'm interested in. I'm not really interested in, partying with my friends on the weekend or like a cuddle puddle every weekend with all my girlfriends at my house and doing galentines. And those things are all really great. But a majority of my life right now is not that. And so the people that relate to me are the people who are like, I also want to build a business and create some freedom for myself. I also want to heal generational trauma. I'm also looking to change my frequency, to change my experience. I'm also looking to take better care of who I am as a person, including my body. I'm looking to regulate my nervous system so I can get away from things that make me feel anxious or depressed and things like that, and get out of those kinds of experiences that make me feel less like myself. If you are a spiritual entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur, you identify as like a light worker, you identify as somebody who is like trying to better their life by changing their stories, changing their patterns, healing their past. You're a mom or a woman who has a partner who lives a very normal, I'm like, I live in the suburbs. I love it here. I love taking my dog for walks. We do a lot of our own like landscaping, and I still paint my own room, and I don't hire people. That type of person is going to find me. Stop looking at people that you don't relate to and then comparing yourself and judging yourself, your progress, any of that to these people around you. I'm not saying make it an echo chamber of just people that agree with your viewpoints. I'm saying find people who are one or two steps ahead of you in whatever process you're trying to experience, but that you also relate to in their life experiences. Because they're going to I have wisdom from having children so young that all of my friends who are now having babies in their 30s, I'm like, yeah, I've been there, done that. Do they listen? No. But am I going to give them the wisdom anyways? Yes. I was like, I've done that. Like, I'm out of that stage of my life. My kids are not babies. They are teenagers. I have one in high school and my oldest is in high school. And I'm like, I don't relate to like getting together for play dates anymore. And not in a bad way. And I'm not saying those moms don't find me and still love my content and still hire me. But what I am saying is like, you need to be able to feel seen and heard. And some of that comes with being in rooms with people who have been where you've been before. It can be you. If we judge the fish based on his flying abilities, like we would never see his greatness, let's stop comparing yourself to a different life experience. Like if they haven't had similar life experiences, it's going to be hard to see yourself in them. And it's going to be hard for you to be able to gauge like, okay, how do I get better? How do I, how can I live a fuller life, a better experience? How can this person teach me? Because you're setting yourself up to fail by pitting yourself against people that you already don't see that you see yourself in them. So some of the other tools I kind of spoke about it is benchmarking. So when you're kind of picking some of these people, you want to relate to them. One, that's really important. The second thing is you want to not only relate to their past experiences, their lived experience, their wisdom that they have to share, but then you also want to look at, okay, what do they have that I want? And not only how did they get there, but how do they embody this? So I use this quite a bit when I was manifesting my husband. Is I was like, okay, I looked at people's relationships, and it's not like coveting their relationship. I don't want their relationship, but there were elements of people's relationships that I really enjoyed, that I'm like, I want this for myself. And so I kind of kept the feeling of, I wrote down, the couple of couples that I knew that I was like, I like this. This is my benchmark. This is what my benchmark is for what I'm available for, this or something better, this type of feeling, this type of connection, this type of communication, this type of, whatever it is. And when you start to do that, you kind of start to build this energetic signature for whatever it is that you're wanting. You're starting to really get clear on the frequency that is. So that way, when you start to kind of tune into that, and you're really kind of using your energy to access whatever it is in the quantum field, right? That particular energy, you recognize sadness because you felt it before. So when somebody walks into a room and they're sad, you don't have to ask them, are you sad, to know that they're sad. You usually see it and you're like, what's up? What's wrong? So this is that same thing of like, all you're doing is being able to shift your internal experience with being able to access the different feelings of these benchmarks to be able to recognize it when you see it. What's the saying? Like, if you spot it, you got it. You need to be able to got it first so you can spot it easier. You have to be aware of it first before you can actually spot it. It can be you. The things that you want, the things that you are really working towards, either manifesting or, you're working towards like building, whether that be a business or whatever, it can be you. Get yourself into rooms of people that make you feel expansive, that you can relate to. Get yourself some benchmarks. Know the feeling that you're going for. Start to see it in the world around you and start to really get clear on what those things are. And then the third kind of practice that you're going to do in kind of putting these tools into place is that you're not going to just do these things one time. Anytime I would go out, anytime I was going on a date, anything like that, when I was working on manifesting my husband, I was really, really clear on the feelings that the benchmark people would give me. I'm like, okay, this person, I love like the feeling that I get when these two people talk about their level of communication. I love the way that these two people interact, physically, like they're very affectionate and kind without being too, touchy-feely, gropey. I love that, things like that. Like, so I was able to access it, and I was able to access it a lot. So I highly recommend you doing this in the morning, priming and preparing your body to expect these things to come to you. Priming and preparing your mind and your energy to expect these kind of experiences to come to you. Reality is a full body experience, right? We kind of have a tendency to focus on the body part, but if we don't focus on the mind and the energy as well, like getting it all in one place, then it becomes like two different things. The mind thinks one thing, but the body is trained to do something different. The body is really just a slave to the mind. Okay. Every time you think a thought, you have a feeling in the body that affirms it. The feeling in the body affirms what your thought was, and then it makes other connections of similar feelings, similar thoughts that you've had, and they fire and wire together, and then that cycle continues. So if you do this often enough, where you're getting out of what is your trained kind of subconscious thinking and processes that's trained the body, and you're starting to retrain the mind, the body will start to follow. If you're retraining the mind to have the feeling in the body, and then the body has the feeling, and then it's like, oh, this is something new. It means, something new in the mind. I'm going to make new connections. And then I'm going to affirm that within the body. So you start to retrain your body and your mind to experience something new. So you're going to do those three things. Start looking for somebody that you're inspired by, that you can see yourself and your kind of experiences in them and in their story. So that way you relate to them first. They don't have to be exactly like you. I'm not saying any of those things. I am saying it's unrealistic. When I looked at initially some of the people that I was comparing myself to, it was really unrealistic to compare myself to them because they would never have those experiences. Here I was 25 years old, single mom with 2 kids, and they were 25 years old living at their parents' house saying that they were making 6 figures a year. You started this 7 years ago, so you have 7 years of experience under your belt doing this. I am just starting, just looking at things differently, not comparing yourself, finding some benchmarks from people who are doing what you're doing that you relate to, and the feeling that you get from them. What part of their life do you want to emulate? And how does it make you feel? And then the third one is do that often. Bring that benchmark into your awareness. Bring what you want into your awareness. How do you feel within your body? Repeat that cycle. Do it in the morning. Do it at night. Those are prime times for you to be able to access the brainwave frequency that actually helps to change more easily what's going on in your mind. It can be you. You can have what you want. You just have to do things a little bit differently. And sometimes assess, what am I doing that's working and what am I doing that's not? And can I set myself up better for success instead of failure right away? And it's okay if you didn't even recognize I didn't recognize I was doing it for a little while. And just starting to shift these really, really small things makes a huge impact long-term of the trajectory of what you're trying to manifest, because it can be you. You can have it. Again, don't forget about the giveaway that we're doing. So if you liked this episode, I would love for you to leave me a review, or if you just want to review the entire podcast, if you're an avid listener and you've already subscribed, go for it. Make sure that you subscribe to Be the Frequency podcast. Follow me at Shalane Carter, and then get your extra entries by tagging somebody that would love the episode or the podcast in the comment section of any of the posts, as well as sharing the post to your story and making sure that you tag me as well for these extra points. The top 5 people that have the most amount of points are going to be winning the giveaway. Don't delay. Do a review. Make it easy. Get yourself 10 points right off the bat. I love you all, and I cannot wait for you to join me on the 15th over on Instagram at Shalane Carter for the announcement of who is winning those awesome prizes. Until next time, you guys. Cheers. This podcast is intended for information and entertainment only. This content is based in personal experience and opinion. This and any other content produced by CLW Studios is not meant to be taken as health, relationship, or financial advice. Results are not guaranteed. If you are interested in mentorship or coaching with me, check out the website linked in the show notes to get more information. Any opinions of guests on this podcast are their own and do not represent the opinions of Shalane or CLW Studios. Learn more about Shalane, her guests, and CLW Studios by following the links in the show notes.